Hi guys, this is Eliana with Why Not reDesign. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a super important dresser in my life. It might be just a dresser, but you see, I am one of 3 kids. I have 3 kids. My 2 siblings are just starting to have their children. My sister is finally pregnant and I'm finally going to be the nana. This is for my nephew and I'm super excited to do it. I've been waiting to do this dresser literally my entire adult life. So let's go get it done. This is the dresser that my sister chose from my stash. It's a beautiful mid-century dresser. Needs a lot of work, however. There is chipping wood from several corners. The top is in serious need of some sanding. The drawers need a lot of help. There's no hardware and my sister wants it painted. So that drawer that you see on the side is the colors that we possibly chose, but I'm not sure that that's where we're gonna end up. Here's my husband double checking all of the drawers before I begin working on it, and we are filling the holes on it because, like I said, the hardware was not available, so we gotta fill those and choose new hardware. He is also removing all of the old liners, and every single drawer had those liners, and in some cases the glue did not want to come off very easily, so he had a hard time doing all of that, but I truly appreciate him doing that for me. Thanks, babe. Like I said, we filled in the holes and we used the 2-part epoxy on this quick wood. I'm super grateful to him, and when he's able to help, I truly appreciate it because every little thing helps. Like I said, we're using quick wood to fill in those drawers. So here I am beginning to sand off the bottom. The idea is to leave that natural, and so I am using my fest tool. As I began to do this, I realized that the 4 feet can actually come off, so I unscrewed them and it was much easier to remove that stain from them. I sanded them bare and left them on the side to wait for the complete redesign to be done. It took me quite a while. I ended up also using some stripper, and this is Citristrip. I use the spray type. And yes, I know I need to have gloves on, but I've been working with this stuff for so long. I know which chemicals I can use with gloves and without gloves. And actually Citristrip is not completely natural, but it's softer. And so I sometimes wear gloves and sometimes I don't. This part of the dresser had been very well kept. The bottom of the edge especially didn't have any nicks, it didn't have anything, and the stain was in very good condition, so I needed to use Citristrip to remove that because sanding it was not taking off the stain completely. So I decided to go ahead, put the Citristrip on the entire edge, allowed it to activate for about 20 to 25 minutes, and then I came back and stripped it with a brush. I used a metal brush like I'm showing, and I even put it on those ridges, if you see, of the feet. The same kind of detail was at the bottom of the dresser, and it was very tough to get in there with just the sander, so that's why it was important for me to use the Citristrip this time. It was really easy to remove. I love using Dixie Belle's White Lightning in a little strong formula, so I use the recommended usage quantity times 2 in water, and when I'm using Citristrip, I use that water over the area that I'm actually removing the stain or paint from, and I wash it off with that White Lightning. It's worked for me for a long time, and I definitely recommend it. But just make sure that you are wearing gloves, because the white lining is a TSP substitute, and so it can damage your skin. Again, I use that for when I'm using Citristrip. I don't use it or have not used it with any other strippers. I did sanded all of that stuff that was remaining on the bottom and made it bare. In all, believe it or not, it took me about 4.5 hours to sand and prep just that area. It was crazy. The product that was on there had been very well preserved. This dresser has to be from the late 70s, I would say. It is a Dixie, so it's very good quality, and you can definitely tell. As you can see, this is all of the supplies that I use for just that bottom and the 4 legs. It's crazy. Yeah, I used every single one of those discs and sanding pads. But this is how it looks now. It's beautiful. The wood is gorgeous under there. I don't know the different types of wood, but this is a good one. That's all I know. The legs look absolutely gorgeous too. And all of that just to tape it, because of course none of this is going to get painted. We are living in natural. I will put a top coat on it probably. Perhaps if there is some fading areas or some areas that need to be made look the same, if one is lighter than the other, I might apply a light stain, but I'm probably not gonna need to. It was time to continue cleaning this dresser and doing all of the prep work on it. So I sanded all of the sides, removed all of the gunk that was on it, and I'm gonna show you. This dresser was deceiving because it was extremely dirty, and this is why prep is so important. I know this is gross, but I want to show you why even when pieces don't look it, you should do the best prep that you can, because all of that gunk is coming off that dresser, and if you put the paint over that, the paint will not adhere the way that it needs to. Yes, it's very gross, I know. Do your prep. That is the best tip that I can give you. Do your prep. I did sanded everything that I needed to sand. In some cases it got sanded just where it needed to be, and it was just a light sanding just so that I could give my piece some grip. This is going to get primed, but anyways, here at the top I actually had to do a lot more work because the top was in very bad shape. But at the end of the day, got all of that done. Then I came back with some wood putty and puttied the entire thing to make sure that all the gouges and all of that did not show. Although this is a high quality dresser, this is still just a veneer top, so I could not sand it completely bare because I could see that I would blow through that veneer, and I didn't want to do that. It's getting painted, so that gives me a little bit of flexibility with what I can or cannot do. However, I do not want to blow the veneer when I'm sanding, so I just put the putty on it, allowed it to dry, and I will be sanding it smooth later. I'm prepping each of the drawers here, and as you saw at the beginning, we puttied the holes that were existing from the original hardware that we unfortunately don't have, but I am working on those to make sure that they are filled well and that they don't show when I paint. Once the putty was completely dry, I came back with my surf prep and sanded all of those areas smooth. It was quite a lot of putty, but it's worth it. It's worth it when you don't want to see any imperfections. And I'm sanding the drawers as well. They look pretty good. I wrapped them, and then I found a couple of different gouges and different places that needed to get glued. So I did that and allowed everything to dry very well. As I was working with the drawers, I noticed that one of the drawers was actually missing one of those little parts that you see that look like sticks, I guess. This right here. That one didn't have it. And for 2 years, I looked at this dresser many times. I have a picture that I have constantly on my phone, and I'm always looking at it saying, what am I going to do with this one? Who is this? Who's going to purchase it? I never thought it would be my sister or that this would be for my nephew. And I never saw this. I never saw that this part was missing. So when I noticed it, I went and I got 2 paint sticks. I keep both of these on hand, and so I use a regular thicker one that they give you sometimes at the hardware store, and then one of the thinner ones. When put together, they were exactly the same depth that I needed them to be. So I cut them, glued them together. After they were dry, I put some wood putty on them to make sure that there was no seam, allowed that to dry, and then I came back and glued it on. Here I am sanding it to make sure that there's no extra putty anywhere. And so this just comes to show that you can use and reuse different things that you have in your shop, and you don't have to buy anything. You don't need any extra crazy tools to cut this stuff with. I literally just cut it with my scissors, and here it is. It looks perfect. There's no seam, and now I'm getting ready to glue it, and you will not be able to tell which one was which when all of this is primed and painted. I made sure that it was sitting straight, put some clamps on it, allowed it to dry, and it's good to go. I also put the good old books on it for added weight. You know me and my books. Those encyclopedias come in very handy. After all of the sanding of the top, I wanted to make sure that I sealed all of that wood putty that I put on it and then sanded back. And so I put 2 coats of shellac, clear shellac on this, as well as on the on the drawers where the holes were before, and allow that to dry. As you know me, as things are drying, I continue to work on other pieces that I have in my stash, because some of the stuff needs to go to my shop. And so this week's project number 2 is a set of nightstands. I cleaned them very well. This didn't need hardly anything to get fixed, which is awesome. And in between that, I came back to the drawer, and ta-da! That is what it looks like now. I even put some stain with just one of those stain pens, just to make sure that everything looked the same, that the paint would adhere on it exactly the same. And like I said, once all of this was done, you cannot tell that I just did this. Pretty proud of myself, I must say. That was a good one. Here they are. I thought I was recording, but I didn't. But all I did was put my primer on, and I use the spray can primer, so no big deal. My mom came over sometime during the week, and she helped me prep next week's project. Here is all of the little things that still showed after I applied the primer, and that is what always happens, doesn't it? But anyway, it's a good thing. So I caught it, did all of that, allowed it to dry, and then sanded all of the stuff again and added yet another coat of primer. It's getting hot outside, very, very hot. So I can just tell that the spray booth is going to be amazing, and that window type thing, the filter that you guys see in the middle, that's my filtration system that goes outside, and I cannot tell you how much that helps right now. It's amazing. I'm so grateful that my husband built that for me. I even used some Bondo on this stuff. So all of that is drying, and here I am painting the nightstands. For these I used Fusion Mineral Paint in the color Sacred Sage. It is a beautiful green, it's supposed to be, but I swear that this looks gray. Sometimes it looks bluish. It definitely has brown undertones, so it's a perfect greenage, if you will. You know how we had grayage? I think this is a greenage color. It's beautiful, very neutral, and these guys are available for sale. Fusion Mineral Paint has the top coat and the primer included, so all in one. And so because I knew that these guys were not going to give me any trouble with bleed through, I didn't have to add additional primer on these. 3 coats of the paint was perfect. After this guy dried, I came back, and here I am finally starting to paint. The color is going to look a little bit different right now because I just have a filter on here, because I'm going to reveal the actual color for you guys right at the end. But for this guy, I am using 1 Hour Enamel by Wise Owl, which is one of my absolute favorite paints. I love its coverage, and I love that you do not need to top coat this, and it literally dries hard as a rock. I guarantee it. Back to this, guys, and I am doing the final coat on the tops, and I wanted to show you or give you a little tip over here. This will be the tip of the week. Even though this paint is rather watery and very easy to use, I love spraying the top of it with a little bit of extra water. I just use my mister and top coated so that the final coat is super smooth, and it leaves absolutely 0 brush strokes. You can do this with all the paints, so that is a tip that goes a long way, because every type of paint that you do, that final coat that you do, if you use a mister and thin out the paint that way, so you're not thinning the actual paint, you're just using a little bit of water so that the brush glides super easy and there will be no brush strokes. Trust me. Time for hardware, and I'm using the hardware that it was existing on these guys already, and they look absolutely amazing. Look at them. This took me just a few hours to complete between dry time and applying the 3 coats, and like I said, they are available locally and for shipping, so let me know if you need them. They are oversized. I believe they are 29 by 28, and so they will go in pretty much any bedroom. back to this guy, I am doing a light sanding and applying a second and third coats. For this guy, I did 3 coats as well. If you look on the bottom left side, you see that the drawers were already giving me issues. Yes, once again, I'm having issues this week with the drawers this time. They're ghosting, and so I am making sure that that doesn't happen. My husband came in halfway through me fixing the drawers for the 3rd time, and he drilled the holes on it. We also added the legs back on, removed the tape, and stood up the dresser to see how it looked. He helped me tighten them as well. I also applied the top coat, and you can see right there that when the top coat is wet, it looks one way, but here it is dry and it looks absolutely fabulous. All right, so last try, I came back, sanded all of that primer off again, make sure that everything was smooth, and everything got 3 coats of paint like the body did. If you're still with me, thank you for being here. Please make sure that you subscribe and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of the videos that I upload on the weekly basis. As the drawers are drying, I am now using White Owl's salve in the scent Righteous Rain. I apply it to all of the drawer insides and all of the tracks so that the drawers slide very well when I put them back in the dresser. I also decided that I wanted to go ahead and paint the entire casing of the drawers because I know my sister. So let's remember what this guy looked like. It was a little of a hot mess. Those colors were the colors that we tried but didn't go with any of them. And here is what the dresser looks like now. This is for my nephew. I love you more than words can express already, and I have to wait until July to see you, but I cannot wait. The dresser, I think, turned out beautifully. It has new hardware in gold. That frame in natural wood looks beautiful, and the color Foxtrot is what we ended up with from White Owl 1 Hour Enamel, and it's absolutely gorgeous. My sister was very picky with the green that she wanted to use. She didn't want any blue undertones, and she didn't want any too warm brown undertones. She has a very specific color in mind for the nursery, so this is what she picked after the other 3 that we tried, which were also beautiful. No longer 2 but 1, and this is a gorgeous dresser now. I literally waited my entire adult life to do it, and I am super happy how it came out. Guys, thank you again for being here this week. Please make sure that you turn on those notifications, subscribe, and I will see you again next week. Bye.